Thanks for joining us as on this 25th anniversary of the movie The Patriot. As we review it, no. As we compare it, no. As we remake it for a modern audience, otherwise known as...
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not. We're going to do this. Why not? We remake everything in Hollywood today. Even the stuff that's like mid-listing things. So the Patriot's got to be on the list because I'm telling you, man, there's some things in there that just don't quite click with some target audiences here. So
how many times have remade Fantastic Four?
Don't even go there.
They got that one coming out pretty soon. I'm like, again?
We are going to review that.
Okay.
And we're going to review something else next week that is a remake of a remake of a remake. Not going to say what it is yet until we get to it. So, my name is John Newton, science fiction, historical and science fiction author, and I'm joined today with somebody who's going to help me make this abomination with you, and it is
Eric from Your Brother in Christ.
Thank you for your
questioning
patience.
This. I'm questioning my decisions from today.
Yes, we're remaking The Patriot. Let's figure out what made it iconic. What influence did Braveheart have on The Patriot? It came out only 5 years beforehand, and it did have there was a lot of similarities between almost some of the same lines, almost some of the same beats.
What year did it come out?
What, The Patriot?
The Patriot.
2000.
2000. Okay, so Y2K, turn of the century.
Right.
Beginning of the new millennium,
Yep.
Ready to go.
Yep.
I'm trying to think if there was like an extremely big reason why we are patriotic at that point. I don't think so.
Well, I don't know. It did well, but it didn't do as well as Braveheart. So we're going to be asking, but we're going to be looking at all these things. We're going to ask you guys first, what made the film memorable for you, if it did at all? Drop it in the chat. We're going to be checking that out here in a bit. And I am going to check the chat early to see who has popped up there with any early comments. Isgul and Jack. Definitely more accurate. Now
I called it.
Now why? Why would you say that he would?
Because that's what he was griping on the last live stream.
That is true.
About this.
That is true.
He was like, it's not historically accurate at all.
We're gonna poke some holes in it and find out what was it really based on.
It's
not gonna take a whole lot of time.
On
we're gonna get into
the Fox.
Well, yes, Swamp Fox, but he's only one guy. There's three guys he was based on. So we're gonna take a quick look at any of those and get a lot of comments, probably from Jack as we did it. Isgul said, "Make it futuristic."
Futuristic in a new age.
How could you do that? Because this is
flying cars. Events. Throw some flintlock laser rifles in it.
I do have to admit that
not that those could ever actually
some of the
work.
Standoffs with the British, and you have Mel Gibson's character come out, Benjamin, and he would just look him straight in the eye and says, "No, I'm not going to let you do that." And then like Delta Force comes out, and you got Apache helicopters coming over. Am I the only guy who imagines that kind of stuff?
Yes.
Oh, come on. Well,
yes,
if I am, that's the author in me making new books.
Making some really weird stories. The Patriot in space.
That would be well. Now we're going to figure out who's going to be starring in it. And that's one of the things we're going to do too. Taking a look at each one of them. So
I think you could actually do the space option. The space option wouldn't be that bad. Actually,
you think we could pull that off?
Oh yeah, if you had like basically the British Empire, you just model what
it wouldn't be
the Earth became would be like the British Empire, and then the colonies are this other planet that we are colonizing.
Yeah,
and you kind of have that still separation, the time space between them because it takes time to send ships over.
So how would you do the Boston Tea Party with dumping the tea? Something in space, just dump something in space. Yeah,
jettisoning it in space and then blowing up with rockets.
You could make it spice.
Spice.
No, that's already been done.
The spice must flow.
That's right. That's already been done. So there's all sorts of alternatives. Once you start doing that, though, I think you get away from. You're just talking about general rebellion, right? Something in the future.
General rebellion. You've got this. You might want to put like light swords in it or something along those. Oh wait, now we're talking about Star Wars.
Yeah, very, very, very similar. So put in the chat if you could. What made the film memorable? Is there any line? There's one particular line that stood out for me that I would quote a lot. So we'll see if we get to that in a minute. But we're going to go through and see. I'm just going to prime the pump a little bit with showing you some images. And I put this in the community chat here. Here are some possible entries for the Patriots. Chris Pratt.
Okay, I can get behind that.
You could get behind that?
I can get behind
Chris I think you could even get behind this one because this is even more for the modern audience, more diverse. We don't care about it being historically accurate here. We just want to have people be able to identify with us. And who else but Whoopi Goldberg? Why not? She was in space, right?
Whoopi. Well, she might actually learn a little bit about the Constitution then.
She might.
Stop talking out of rear end at every opportunity.
Yes. So
she makes my skin crawl now.
Yeah. Who does she remind you of in the Patriot? I think no, I wouldn't.
She could play the main villain.
The main villain?
Though he did such a good job of that character.
He did.
He's so good.
So I don't know if you could replace him, but we could. We're going to make this diverse, so we'll make her the villain. And this guy, we're not going to hold him. Not going to hold him. We're going to hang him. Talking about Gabriel, the main character's son in this. So we're only going to be able to replace 4 characters here, guys, when we get to it. Let's take a look at the movie itself. We're going to look at the trailer to kind of refresh our memories if you haven't seen a whole lot. I did sit down with my teenage son and watch it for the first time with him, with it, and he was impressed. I watched Braveheart with him. He's like, Dad, I'm not sure about this, but he really did like the Patriot. So there's some differences there for him, even though it's not historically accurate. Let's take a look at this.
I have long feared that my sins would return to visit me. And the cost is more than I can bear.
A past he wanted to forget.
I've been to war, and I have no desire to do so again. I have 7 children. I do not wish to leave them fatherless.
And I think that by itself is one of the main things there. And it just adds so much depth to this character being very reluctant to go to war. Very like, hey, I screwed up. I've got this dark past. I want to just basically forget about it, repent of it, put it in a closet, close it down, not worry about it, and move forward. And I do not want my kids to have to suffer the way I suffered and do some things I did. I want a better future for my kids. And it's that he is, and it's so well done because it's not, I was a great war hero at every turn, but it's like everyone around you is talking about you and talking about how what you did was, this amazing thing. In fact, his son brings it up. It's like everywhere we go, people buy you drinks because of your acts during that war. And why is that? I don't even know why. You've never told me. Random people on the street know you better than I do. And I think that really that's a good way of putting in a character as a very overpowered sort of build up for this character being very epic without him needing to say it and without it sounding pushy.
He's a reluctant hero, but it's not that he's humble with this necessarily.
No, he's ashamed.
And that opening quote that they had in there, I thought was really well done. I have long feared that my sins would revisit me, and the thought of it is more than I can bear. And that plus being a father, hiding some things from your children because you don't want them to take that on as and not so much that you don't want them to see that shame. You don't want them to follow in your footsteps. And of course, that's what happens. with his
oldest,
oldest, and even
goes
the
to
second
war.
oldest, just jumping out to try to defend his older brother. So yeah, these are all. Oh my gosh! Now here's a question for you. I was going to ask this a little bit later because we're going to mix things up a little bit.
I forgot how epic this movie is.
In Braveheart, there was this buildup. When we looked at this buildup, he loses his mother. It's off screen. He loses his father and brother to the British. Of course, the British again, right? And then he loses his. Who else does he lose there? He loses his wife.
Yep.
And that's what really pushes him over the edge. The only thing that would have been worse if he lost his dog, and that'd be John Wick all over again. But here, does this pull at your heartstrings more than what that did?
I say so because there's always something. Everyone has something in their past that they're ashamed of, and that's instant. Like I can see that perspective. I've been there. You can instantly identify with the character. You know what? Some things in my past I don't want brought up again. I don't want old history brought up. I definitely don't want my kids to pay for the things I have done, the evil that I have committed. In his case, the evil he's committed in the pursuit of good. He doesn't want that visited upon them.
No, he doesn't. All right, so I'm going to check the chat real quick before we move on. And there's a couple other things I want to talk about in terms of Braveheart and the Patriot, that mix between the two. Oh my golly, you guys have been active. I would watch the Patriot in space would be watched. I think that actually is kind of like the Empire, right?
Yep.
Star Wars.
That would
so
be.
many others.
You could do something very similar. Yep.
Tackle Crater Tea Party.
Talking about the Tea Party, how you'd handle it.
Am I alone in wishing Master and Commander movie kept the bad guy on American ship? I don't know. See if it is. And then another suggestion was Patrick Stewart. I don't know this. So if you're talking like the 80s Patrick Stewart, no, like the current Patrick Stewart now, because I don't know if he could pull it off.
Old and cool.
Patrick Stewart could be the who was it? Oh, he was the colonel. Not the colonel. The general.
The general. Of the British.
The
general?
British. Yeah.
Yeah, he could pull that.
I think he could pull that one off, especially with his British roots.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
He could do that. And then the TV series about spies during the Revolution was well done. I'm not sure which one he was talking about there. And Dark Past, Dark Knight. Christian Bale could be one. Could maybe be an actor step in for that one. That'd be interesting. And then there are likely not movies about this time because no one wants to deal with slavery. One of the things criticisms about the Patriot was it didn't have enough slavery, or didn't deal with slavery, didn't have enough. They did deal with that in there. There was a main character. I don't know if you call him a main character or not, but then he did receive his freedom because he fought, and there was also others that were black, but they were not slaves for Benjamin. They said when,
and they pointed out as an abnormal thing.
Yes,
it was something
that freeman,
something that shocked the people that were there. Like, what do you mean you're working here as a freeman?
So even though the movie does deal with that, I mean, it's not the main focus of it. It does deal with it. It got criticism because it didn't do it enough.
I thought it did a good mixture of it without it being the sole focus. Because if you're saying that the sole focus has to be the slavery aspect, then you're going to lose everything else. If you have, you had racism in it, that was eventually dealt with. You have slavery, the opportunity to be freed, the fact that there are slaves there, and there are people that were looking down on the guy who was even trying to get his freedom.
Yeah, right.
So
right,
and they dealt with it.
So you could have that. Even though they dealt with it, they still got criticized for it. So if you have that as a main focus, you might come off with something like this.
Yeah, might as well.
Running from the British.
Put a chicken in it, make it gay.
We're going to do that later. Let's see. There are
What? More?
more. Modify fights to be halfway believable rather than Matrix neophytes and horde of bad guys. I thought the fights
Some of them
in the
I thought
Patriot were
pretty
pretty
decent.
good. You talking about in the Patriot?
In the Patriot.
I
Some
wonder
of
if
them
you're
were
talking
pretty
about in the Patriot.
decent. Definitely showing, British wiping them out.
Yes.
Wiping
Face to face.
Cannonballs going through.
Yeah.
Definitely. Now, if you're talking about the main characters having extreme levels of plot armor, except for when they don't, yes, I'd say you're probably right about that part. That aspect.
There was the one part where Benjamin goes nuts at the beginning. This is Mel Gibson's character. He goes nuts after his son is killed. Spoiler alert. And it just goes after the British. They're hiding with his two younger boys. This is really traumatic for them. And they shoot him, and then a couple of them one's running away. He just butchers and just goes right after him. There's two things working for him there. I think this is realistic. One is that he has the element of surprise. There's the British are confused, even though they're veterans. He's a veteran. He's used to fighting like that in the French and Indian War, and he knows the territory. And he is almost like he's in berserker mode because of his son. So I think all those things add up to it, that it worked out like that. Let's see. I'm just hitting a couple more of these and then we'll move on. Benjamin seems to have had a bit post-traumatic stress. Yes. Turn Washington Spies was the TV. Turn Washington Spies was a TV series. Okay. I have to look into that. And then Brandon, and I'm probably not going to get this name right, Fischilla, did some good breakdowns on the Patriot. The ambush scene was really poor. Okay. That's probably the one. There's several ambush scenes in there. That was probably the one that I was just talking about.
I don't know. They had the crossfire one in the freaking open field that was moronic.
Yes, they hit him from both sides.
It was like, oh, well, let's just shoot ourselves. Sorry.
It costs lots of money in southern states to free your slaves due to state laws which sought to keep the system going. Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of history behind this. So let's take another look at the trailer. See if, because we're refreshing our memory. I don't know if you guys have seen this recently or not. I have, but you may not have. So let's just take a look at this.
A family threatened by war.
We have to do something.
I forbid you to go!
Not a child! You're my child!
A son fighting for his beliefs.
Father, I thought you were a man of principle.
When you have a family of your own, perhaps you'll understand.
When I have a family of my own, I won't hide behind them.
Ouch. That was pretty hurtful. Okay.
He does make a point, though.
Yes, he does. But he doesn't. He's speaking out of an era of ignorance. He has not gone to war. He doesn't know the level and how much this will cost. He doesn't know that at this point.
He will learn. Yeah, but this is really where it comes down, and this I was using this as a teaching tool for my teenage son to say, when is it appropriate, if there is an appropriate time to go to war, and then you avoid it at all costs because there are unintended consequences. There's famine, disease, and everything that comes with it. Civilians get caught in the crossfire, everything. But when it comes, do it quick, fast, and brutal to the point where the enemy is keeping to the laws of a just war. But don't mess around. Be good. Have a good standing army where you can make it quick, because it's not going to be pretty. And so, is there a time? We talked about the just war theory, and hopefully I remember, and I'll put that up here as a link. So there are Braveheart versus. What other things made the Patriot work? Mel Gibson had star power then, charisma as Benjamin Martin, and relatable every man turned hero. So this is where you're talking about earlier that there's empathy here.
You also have one of the rising stars at that time period was played his older son.
Heath Ledger.
Keith Ledger.
Heath.
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 Heath
With an H.
Ledger.
Heath Ledger. Yes.
So you had a lot of good characters. The villain was very well played as well. The main protagonist in this one was very clear from beginning to end who that was. And you have a very satisfying ending. Conclusion to that whole relationship at the end.
So there's an emotional core here too. It's family-driven narrative. Martin's griefs over his sons, and resonated with the audience. There's also romance, double for both Benjamin Martin and his son that have the romances are going there too. And there's some pretty ladies that are in there too. I think that adds to it. Epic score, large-scale battles, period costumes, John Williams' soaring score created a cinematic spectacle. So all these are positives going for it. Historical inspiration drew upon. Now these are the characters that drew upon it, and I plan to do a deeper dive into each one of these characters, but because of time, it's not the main focus. If you guys really like that stuff, maybe we'll dive into it a little bit more later. But drew on Francis Marion, Thomas Sumter, and Daniel Morgan, bit blending fact with fiction. So there's 3 different characters. One of those guys was the Swamp Fox. Yep. And pulled all those up. So you're kind of melding these together to make a character that is plausible during that time, but not actually
historically accurate.
So I'm going to rely on some guys in the chat to tell me what they got wrong historically. In the meantime, box office success, it grossed over $215 million worldwide, according to year 2000 box office data using those dollars. $215 million, 15 million, based on a $110 million budget. So was successful. Very successful for the time. And so it cleared. Now,
no, my only question about that is how much of that came from the UK?
What do you mean?
How many box office sales did you have in the UK?
Yeah,
I want to know.
That
would be interesting.
That is a good question. What, they won? I thought they were still the colonies. So yeah, a little bit of surprise. And what is Mel Gibson? Is he? What state was he born in?
I don't know.
Australia. He's in Australia.
Australia.
Yeah.
Well, he's
as far as I know, he's
convict.
I know he's from Australia. I think
he's a convict then.
Oh, come on, man.
They were all originally, and the British were sending their convicts down.
Yeah.
So you've got this guy who's a descendant from convicts who we're all sent over from Britain, exiled from Britain.
Yeah, I know.
For their crimes.
I know.
And then he plays in a movie. They get to trash Britain twice. I am thinking he might have had a bit of an axe around.
Well, I don't know about that. Well, maybe. I don't know.
I'm just mostly poking fun.
Yeah, you are.
It's just funny
how
that lines up.
Yeah, and we're gonna touch more on the similarities of the Patriot versus Braveheart in a minute, and this is all build up so we can cast and create our new version of the Patriots. So we're building up to that. Checking the comments here again. We have Thomas Hall said it costs. Oh, you've done that one. I'm sorry. Historians tear Patriot apart. It's a tradition for me to watch other historians tear it apart each year. Okay, this is where you guys will each have your pot shot. Take your best shot. What was the thing that bothered you the most historically about the Patriot? And help us out here, because we're going to fill in the blanks, see where they missed the mark. And when we do a remake, are we going to try to make it historical? Are we going to do a DEI version? Is it going to be a spoof? Is it going to be in space? We'll see.
I like the in-space option. The in-space option really sounds really good to me.
Here's another question. What should a Patriots remake borrow from the Braveheart movie, if anything at all? Grit, heroism, or something else?
The British being the villains.
Duh. Well, can you really say the British? Because it was England at the time. It wasn't really for Braveheart, right? Did they have the Welsh with them? I don't know. It's a good question. Well, I'm not even sure if they would have called themselves the British. Similarities between Braveheart and The Patriot. Both star Mel Gibson as a reluctant warrior in historical settings. Duh. Directed by big names, Roland Emmerich for The Patriot and Gibson for Braveheart. So Gibson did not direct the Patriot.
Interesting.
Focus on personal stakes, family revenge, and epic battles. So both of those are, he goes after the English in Braveheart because they killed
His family.
Last one, besides his dog, they didn't kill his dog. They got his wife.
He didn't have a dog.
He didn't have his dog.
I was about to say, I don't remember that part of the movie.
I'm not sure they would have kept dogs as pets. But then in this one, in the Patriot, it was his son that was killed. In Braveheart,
well, his son, and then his oldest son was going to be hanged. So
yeah,
if he didn't act, then he was going to
true.
lose two sons. With him sitting there watching his house burn down.
It wasn't so much. It wasn't so much vengeance at the beginning, although there was probably some of that in there. It was more rescue mission.
Rescue mission, yeah. I think the vengeance came out when he went nuts.
Yeah, because he already released his son. They were released close together, 95 and 2000, riding on a wave of historical epics. So I don't believe, this is a speculation on my part, I don't believe the Patriot could have been made had Braveheart not been a success.
Like built off of it.
It did. And it was almost like a Braveheart 2, in terms of theme and things like that. Differences. Braveheart won 5 Oscars, including Best Picture. The Patriot was a commercial hit, but less critically acclaimed. Didn't garner the same level on that. Braveheart leaned into raw violence and Scottish identity. The Patriot was more polished, American-focused, and had more philosophy in there. And this is one of the lines, and I was going to try to clip it, but I couldn't. One of the my favorite line is, "Tell me, sir, why I should believe that, why I should put my trust in 3,000 tyrants 1 mile away, then one tyrant 3,000 miles away." And I just got that flipped because I think it's the other way around. But he's doing the comparison between the two.
Yeah, one tyrant 3,000 miles away, or 3,000.
Why I should trade? Why I should, darn it, that's what it was. Why I should trade one tyrant 3,000 miles away for 3,000 tyrants 1 mile away. And he's got a point. He said an elected legislature can trample over a man's rights just as well as a monarch.
I'd say one of the quotes that stuck with me was when he's talking there to the group of guys and saying that the innocent shall die with the rest of us.
Oh, yeah.
That this is not going to be something that's fought on a foreign shore. This is going to be inside your houses, and the innocent will die with the rest of us, which is interesting statement phrasing, because he's definitely not including himself as part of those innocent, nor anyone there.
Maybe out there, yeah.
Because he's referring to the innocent will die with the rest of us.
So and then two scenes later, you see that happen.
Yep.
At his house. So he also mentioned something else in that meeting. He said that, and because he is not willing to go himself, he will not vote for war or vote either way. He will not cast a vote. He will not cast a vote either way because he is not willing to put his own life on the line. Man, I think that's a lesson to us. How many of us should we have the ability to cast a vote on war or to elect those who will bring us to war if we're not willing to fight ourselves? True. Or send our family members to fight? Those are some tough questions. Okay, so let's look before we get into, can the Patriot be made today? Could you take a theme? Could you take a message like this and make the same kind of story set in the same light? Could it be remade today? We're going to look at that. Before we do, let's take a look at the chat again, because I think we've had more going on. Okay, post-apocalyptic Patriot would be a good one too, but Mel already did Mad Max.
That is true. I
saw that in the theater. Boy, that was tough. When I was a kid. I don't think I should have seen it, but I did see Mad Max in the theater.
They let me in, but they shouldn't have let me in.
They didn't really let me in. Confession time.
Oh, you snuck in.
I snuck in. I forget what the other movie is that we were going to watch, but we snuck in. Yeah.
So you went to the movie theaters and you went from one and you said, I'm going to go watch X. And then you snuck into Y instead.
Yeah. This is a theater that was out in LA. And I'm surprised we were able to get away from it because the ticket booth was actually in the middle and they had the theaters all around it.
Mm-hmm.
And they could easily see who's going where. I'm feeling guilty now. I should probably go and buy a ticket just for the sake of having a ticket there. But that's not gonna
Ticket prices might have gone up a little bit.
You think?
I'm sorry.
I don't know.
They're no longer using stones as part of their entertainment.
Okay. So next week I'm going to be doing this alone. So we have, let's see, borrow the fireball statement, but have actual fireballs and a wall running hand-to-hand, hand-to-hand combat as well.
Why not?
That'd be a good medieval one. I could be wrong, but I think Gibson has a problem with English.
I think the next statement's pretty good.
What's okay? He says, "Nah, it's just that the English make the best villains after the Germans."
That's a good comedy too.
What the British do?
The British make great comedy.
Yes, they do. A little bit dry.
A little bit dry, but
Yes.
it's very
And
good.
I think the Germans just keep the beer and stay away from some.
They make
combat.
decent cars though.
The Germans.
The Germans do.
They do. Well, I don't know. I had a Volkswagen. I had some issues with it. I'm not bothered by it. To me, it's just a well-done portrait. Braveheart was far more egregious in any way of accuracy. Yeah, we did pick apart a lot of the problems in Braveheart as well as Mary Queen of Scots. If you haven't seen that one, hopefully I'll put the reminder right there. It would be interesting to listen to some sermons from the time, especially by the way, the Romans 13. Yeah. Wait, Romans 13. What does Romans 13 talk about? Is that about the Jews? Place for the Jews? I think it might be. I have to look that up. You got my curiosity going. It would be interesting to hear the sermons. Now, there is a, if you've ever gone to these historical villages, like they do reenactments there, and it's really fun to go. And there you have people that you have a rebuilt, not really colonial, but they do have that out on the East Coast. Colonial villages, and people reenact what's actually there. I went to one of those, and I'm asking the person about what they're doing and everything. She's in character and all that.
That's interesting.
And she was saying, yes, this is how we preserve our foods. How do you preserve your food? I thought, geez, you're going to ask me a question like that. I'm going to have to answer truthfully. We let the general take care of it. He takes care of all our food. The general? I don't understand. General Electric. She cracked. She broke out of character. Yes, she did.
That's bad.
I felt accomplished. I went away and I felt
Not
good.
a bad
But these
joke.
are cool because one of the things that they talked about was for this church. They had a church in the center of town, and they were talking about the church service being all day.
Mm-hmm.
And you come, and there's more things you do than just listen. But the sermons would be long. And I'm not sure if that's true in all the Protestant traditions at the time, but at least for the ones that were there, it was. So it would be interesting in hearing. I'm sorry, that was a big tangent, but that was a good question. First Great Awakening occurred just before the war. That's a good point. You know, how much influence did that have? I mean, of course, there's John Locke and all the stuff that's happening with the revolution.
I thought the Romans 13 was the governmental authority.
There you go.
So how would they deal with that while talking about rebellion?
Oh, yes. Give unto Caesar, right? I bet you there was a lot of wasn't the Whig Party the pro-British party? And they would have
the Patriots. You had the Loyalists.
The Loyalists. Yeah, was that actually a party, though? To go back and look. I think Jamestown, Virginia was one of those reenactor places. Yes. Yeah, those are really cool. If you guys ever have a chance to check those out, or if you have, those are Williamsburg, Virginia has an entire colonial town.
That would be interesting.
It would be, and it's worthwhile. And it's very educational. I mean, take your kids to see this, especially if you homeschool. and they get a chance to almost reenact it. We got to see them do glass blowing, and
Ooh.
although the guy wasn't in character, he gave a lot of explanation of how they did things and making. You can think about all the materials that they used. Most of the materials, besides glass, would have degraded over time.
A lot of them were toxic, including in the glass.
What with, like what? With lead?
Lead was commonly used. Later on, there are plates made out of uranium. They're still radioactive today.
Yeah, I think
You can go to. I've seen videos on people going to places that they would be selling the old plates and stuff, and they would go there with a Geiger counter and check the plates, and you'd still see it's not terribly bad, but it's still bad.
Wow.
And they would go through each of the plates and be like, "Oh, here's the use."
I'm going to bring one of those next time I go shopping for plates. The first Great Awakening was an important part of the American Revolution. Yes. Also, the Scottish depopulation moved to American colonies in the late 1600s and 1700s. We got historians here, man. I tell you, you guys are sharp. Yeah, there's a Scottish American link.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe this is Benjamin Martin has the fictional character. Maybe he has Scottish links. Maybe it goes back to
maybe.
Oh gosh, the guy who played Braveheart. I mean, that guy played Braveheart, but the one that was named after. Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. You guys will tell me. One of the Quakers, John Dickerson, was involved in the Declaration. There is a great scene from John Adams where they say him being a Quaker is allowing the tyranny.
Well, yeah, because Quakers were pacifists.
Okay.
So they were extreme pacifists. So it's interesting that he would be involved at all with the revolting against the tyranny.
Well, you guys are very sharp. I'm shrinking back and listening to the great historians here. And I'm serious. You guys, I believe above average. So can the Patriot be made today? Let's take a look at another part of the clip before we move on. See if we can refresh our memories just a little bit more.
Hang him, put his body on display.
Colonel, I beg you, by the rules of war.
Would you like a lesson, sir, in the rules of war?
Or perhaps your children will.
Yep.
So the villain, the guy you just love to hate, they did such a good job with this that whenever I see that character again, and that is Jason Isaacs, whenever I see this guy play another role, I have a hard time separating him from Colonel Paddington, the one that he played.
Mary Serves, he plays in all the Harry Potters too. Very good. He's a villain in there too, so it works.
A little bit of typecasting.
A little typecasting there.
Yeah.
A bit of a sleazeball, so you're like, yeah,
you just really want to see him get it. I think more so than, again, comparing the Patriot. The Patriot, you had Longshanks as the villain. And there's not so...
The Patriot.
I'm sorry, Braveheart. Sorry, thank you for the correction. In Braveheart, he was the villain, but he's also distant. And it's almost a little bit more cartoonish.
And this one was very personal.
You could, and he wants to. There's a little bit more backstory for him. He wants to restore his family heritage. His father has squandered all his wealth, and he is trying, doing everything he can, whatever it takes. And there's a red flag, right? Whenever you say whatever it takes, you're subjugating all other morals to whatever that is that you're willing to sacrifice for. Whatever it takes to restore his titles. And when he looks at the colonel, the general, and says, "Tell me about Ohio." And Ohio was much bigger because the Ohio Valley. As to be able to take that as an inheritance, and thank God somebody like that did not get it, because that would have been awful. So What would stop a remake from working? Would it be budget, politics, or something else?
Politics.
You tell me in the chat.
Because they definitely have to play the United States off as some sort of villain.
It's for them. It's for them. It's for them.
It can't be good. America can't be good according to
The message. Yes,
the
I
message.
understand.
The message.
Feasibility. Historical epics are risky, but viable. Now, we've looked at some historical epics like The Kingdom of Heaven.
Not so much epic. Not so much historical. It kind of sucked.
It had a budget.
It sucked on all.
It had a budget.
Spent lots of money.
And there were people that were actors in it.
It spent lots of money.
So now they did. We have had some good ones recently. Maybe you could say the Gladiator was one. I don't know if you really want to put that up as one, but 1917. That was good, I thought.
Don't think I've
for
seen
World War One. Isn't that the one where they go through and they follow the two?
Oh, is that one?
Yes.
I don't remember the name of that one. That was a pretty good one.
Yes.
That was very interesting because it's all done in one shot.
One
it was
shot.
Continuous.
That was amazing.
That was interesting. And they got some grittiness in there, and they showed some nastiness of war itself.
Oh yeah.
But
which I think
very
you do need to
interesting as all
show
one shot.
to realize that it's not just all hoorah, but it's nasty. Streaming platforms like Netflix could fund it, but imagine what those streaming platforms would put out. We've seen what they've done with other. Forget about history. That's I get sidebarred for that. Challenges. Modern sensitivities demand historical accuracy and diversity. Polarized audiences might criticize overt patriotism. So if you have overt patriotism or look at nothing but the negative of America. So I know historical authors, I should make this plural, but I'm thinking about one in particular, who paints America in a continual negative light. He puts out stories that are only showing America in a negative light. These are actual things that happen, but if you only hear the negative about somebody, you're going to think the worst of that person. And if there are other people that are doing the same thing, it's not fair and balanced. So there are those who would want to put this in that kind of light to say, no, we're just going to look at all the negative side of this, how brutal, how wrong this revolution was, how it was not inclusive, and it wasn't for slaves at the time. It wasn't, and say, okay, well, women couldn't vote. You couldn't do all these other things. So should the remake of the Patriot be cast in that light? Industrial trends. Studios favor IP-driven films, but a star-driven vehicle could work with the right lead. So if you have the right lead for this, and we're going to choose somebody here in just a minute, what's that going to be? An audience demands. Some crave a patriotic approach. Others want nuanced history. So checking to see what you guys have to say about this. Let's see, 13 colonies all had a say. American Way. Remake could probably involve a lot of CGI. Yeah,
Probably.
Yep. Ohio, everyone laughed in the theater. It's such a normal place. Yes. Horrible Hollywood writers. With that, so that would be a downfall for why you could not create it, I'm guessing. Das Boot, U-boat movie. Yeah, that was a good one. But that was also, gosh, when did that come out? Wasn't that?
I don't think it was recent.
No, definitely wasn't recent. I'm trying to think it was either 90s or maybe even 80s. And that was, I think it was all in German too.
Huh.
It was about a German crew on a U-boat and what happens to them. So you see the other side. And, these are, from that point of view, these guys are just fighting for their country.
You think we're the bad guys?
Huh?
You think we're the bad guys?
Are we the baddies?
We're the baddies.
Are we the baddies?
Oh.
War movies are
hilarious.
interesting in their presentation, general morality. I have to chew on that a bit. Yeah. Nations like people, we all have a mix of good and bad in our past. Absolutely. You Ohioans being so normal. I don't know. I have no idea what he's talking about. Absolutely.
I don't know. Ohio is supposed to be a bad thing online. I don't know why. It's like
I'm not gonna say
from Ohio.
I'm not gonna say where I'm from originally from, because it used to be a conservative state. It is not now. When I was born there, it was a conservative state. And don't say Stone Age, because that doesn't count.
It was a state?
Huh?
It was a state?
Yes. It's a state. We did. It was one of the United States. Yes.
Oh.
What would a modern Patriot look like? The Patriots movie. Now, this is where we get down to it, guys. We've laid the foundation. Hollywood demands another remake. You're the exec. The Patriot has just passed its 25-year expiration date. How do you make another hit? Now, remember, you're working within the current Hollywood framework. We're not saying La La Land here. This is what Hollywood is like right now. If you're going to do it, it's going to be with today's restrictions.
Are they trying to sell the message, or are they trying to actually make money? Because the answers are completely different.
Yeah, let's say that you've got enough pull. Okay, we're going to give you enough liberty here. Let's say you've got enough pull so that you could, if you decide to go one direction or another, they'll go with you. Let's say you've got a good history of blockbusters. Now say, okay, yeah, we'll go with what you have. You're either a former Hollywood star, a big name director, producer, or whatever. You got a lot of chutzpah behind you, a lot of good history. So, tone, starting with tone. Is it going to be gritty and nuanced like The Reverend or 12 Years a Slave, and not the idealized Patriots heroism? What end are we going to take? Are we going to take something that's more historically accurate, or are we going to try to, meld some people together, some historical characters together to make one? Because it can't really show all three.
Well, to be honest with you, I think if you just released The Patriot today as a brand new movie, if they were to build it up, I think it would actually do pretty decently. Because there's a large backlash. There's a large amount of Americans who are sick of hearing about how bad America is. So that by itself would get people out in droves in order to watch the movie and have a good I mean, look at, what was it? There's a movie not too long ago, fighter aircraft, Top Gun.
Oh, yes.
Top Gun came out, and it blew the waters out of everything else.
So there really is a polarization politically and philosophically in America right now. And I think you see that even in the West in general. You do have more conservative and more liberal sides that pull. Hollywood has, by and large, almost 90%, 95, 98%, I'm not sure how you want to slice it, represented the liberal side. Not so much a conservative side. And you're not going to get as many people going because there is such a split. Top Gun did well.
Yes.
In the theater. I'll tell you one thing that would make it go is there's been a lot of pent up look. We have people that really desire a good movie, and it doesn't necessarily need to be fantastic to do okay.
No, it just needs to be decent.
And we saw Jurassic World Rebirth.
Yep.
And we did the review on it.
It was an okay movie.
It was an okay movie, but I think it's going to do okay, even though it's rehashed, almost beat for beat from the original. How much woke parts were there? Yeah,
a little bit, but not. I didn't feel preached to the entire time, which seems to be the bare minimum nowadays, which is really sad. By the way, just saying that. If I go to the movie theater, I leave the movie theater saying, I don't feel like I was preached to, and the entire time I was the actual villain in the movie, I feel pretty good. That was a good movie. That is a bad statement of affairs.
It is. And you feel like maybe you didn't get your money's worth, but you had a pretty good time with the kids or whatever. And so, hey, there is that.
You got the Godzilla that did very well. And I thought it was really well done all in all. And it didn't have any of the woke ideology.
You're talking about Godzilla 1?
I'm talking about, Godzilla
Godzilla
-1, I think it was.
-1. Yes, sorry.
Godzilla -1. And I thought they did an extremely good job with that one.
But that was not Hollywood. That was Toho Studios, right?
Yes, that was Toho Studios. And they made bank with that one. They did a great job. Definitely with how little they had to invest into it. They got boatloads of money back.
So would you, in your remake version, center on historical focus on Marion Sumter Morgan's guerrilla tactics, or would you say, hey, listen, we need to focus on the diverse nature of the United States at the time?
Wasn't very diverse.
That's the question. Diverse. I think it's more important to look at the diverse ideologies you had at the time.
Diverse ideologies, sure. I would, if I were to redo it, I'd have it heavily focused on patriotism, heavily focused on America good, we're righteous, getting in there, mostly to appeal to the people who are tired of being beat over the head, giving them an alternative. Now, that, again, wouldn't be a movie for everyone, but it would hit a group of people who, guess what? They spend the money.
See, in the original Patriot, they did have some philosophical themes that they dealt with, like tyranny and some other things that are some good one-liners, like avoiding war. You can. There are some other maybe modern themes or more current themes that are going on that say, listen, this is what true liberty is. Maybe bring some of those thoughts in.
Bring forward more than even the original movie did, of the Christian foundation of the nation. How Christianity was critical for some of these concepts, and maybe sprinkle in there some theology disagreements, like you're saying with Hebrews 13, how to deal with that. Those sort of things I think would be very interesting. I think it would hit a group of people in America who feel that they have been, steal on the words, discriminated against.
Tread on,
discriminated against, forgotten.
Sidelined.
Not only that, but told that they are the villains, that they are evil because of them being born the way they are. Which seems to be what they claim to fight against.
I know, it's the opposite. Right.
But they don't do that.
Themes. Would you emphasize the moral complexity, anti-colonial critiques, and personal sacrifice over nationalism? Or would you focus more on the nationalistic aspects of it or the philosophies that are going on? There's so much material when you look at the colonial period, what you could focus on, and to say, here is a good message for today. And I'm really serious about this, because in our society today, we can really, there's some messages there that we need to hear and need to get corrected, because it's very strong anti-colonialism right now, which we were a colonies, right? Plural. And how do you, not everything was dealt with right off the bat. Off the bat.
They couldn't. Because we were such divided, because we weren't one nation at that time. We were 13 colonies who were thinking about rebelling against the overall nation. You had to have all 13 buy into it. In fact, that's one of the reasons why slavery even existed in America, was because it was a compromise saying we will allow it for now because of the southern states, just temporarily, but we will allow it so that they don't go join the British.
And so here's the other part too, is that whenever you talk about slavery, usually it's like the focus on it is mostly on why America is so bad with it, why we had slavery, as if we were the only ones at the time or in history or even after that time. And
the overwhelming amount of time there's been slavery worldwide.
Right.
There's been small exceptions to that, such as America, such as, I believe it was in the Roman Empire right after Christianity became the state religion. They abolished slavery for a bit. But for the majority, 99% of human history, slavery's been the norm.
Yeah, and keep that in mind before we beat ourselves up too much over that. All right, so let's see what you guys have. I should have put a marker here to see where it was last. Nations or people. Great movie of this period. Okay, I think we'll talk about ideals of realism. I want to make sure I want to make sure I don't miss anything. People can talk about ideals with realism. I don't know how I would do at the box office though.
I think it would do well, counting on how you put it forth. Because again, like we've seen, the successful movies have been those who haven't alienated this group of people. Top Gun, definitely that group of people wanted to see that movie. We're very excited to see that movie. Push that movie.
Yeah.
Same with some of the other movies that have done decent, even would not have alienated that group.
Well, he's talking about some of the deeper issues that would be difficult to tackle in an entertaining way.
Mm-hmm.
And just to let you know, I've also struggled with that in dealing with put this eye up. In dealing with my stories and short stories, I do want to have themes that are dealt with in this, but you got to do it in such a way that it doesn't take over the story, because if you do, that ruins the story for people. That it takes them out of that. The story must be king, but you have to set it up in such a way that those are dealt with naturally.
Mm-hmm.
Those intentions, like the short story "A Taste of Earth" deals with, can aliens become Christians? How is there salvation off the planet? It doesn't really deal with so much how or why, or doesn't really get into it. It's a short story, so there's only so much you can do. But in this case, the alien that is encountered there does ask some questions, just off the side, because it's working through some things and asks those questions. And it's designed to just put those thoughts in people's minds as they're reading it. So that's a very tough thing to have to work through. A movie of this period, but treating it like a classic 80s Vietnam movie. Classic 80s Vietnam movie. Like Full Metal Jacket?
I'm assuming so.
Apocalypse Now. Was that 80s?
I think it's...
It might have been 70s.
Yes.
No, it was 80s.
80s.
Actually, okay.
I'm pretty sure it's 80s.
Sidebar. That guy was my boss.
Oh.
Marlon Brando, who played one of the main characters in that movie. Another story for another time, but I worked for him for a short period. Yes. Well, I was in Bible college. I worked for Marlon Brando. I worked for The Godfather. And I also sold drugs on the street corner in LA. Okay, it was a pharmacy.
I'm already saying it sounds like
But
a very
still.
interesting Bible.
I did. I worked
Is it
my
one
way
of
through
the
Bible college.
Bible colleges. It's starting to make me question the theology there and making sure you're not.
Yeah, but it makes for a great story. I worked
Yeah,
for
but
The
it makes a
Godfather,
question.
and I sold drugs on the street corner.
Makes me bring up some serious questions there.
It does. Ethical issues. I repented, though. So
Pastor at a church. Yeah, I got my theology degree while selling drugs on a street corner. Oh boy.
I like the evilest guy in the movie. Imagine Sauron. Tell me about Nantucket. So the 80s Vietnam movies. If I don't know if he's talking about Apocalypse Now. By the way, that was based on a novel, Heart of Darkness. I believe that was the name of it. It's talking about going into Africa. It's almost the exact story. They just transported it into Vietnam, about the colonel who was stranded there and just goes nuts. The movie should have been more of a horror survival. Yeah, I could see that. Those guys went through some hellish conditions. Yeah. 80s Viet. Well, you think because it did show the one scene. I think it's I forgot the name of the fort, but during winter, and you see the glimpse of George Washington go through, and that's part
Valley
of the
Forge?
Valley Forge. Thank you. That is part of the problem of warfare and these unintended consequences. What happens to your troops? If you don't have well supplied, or you make a tactical error and everybody dies in your battalion. The 80s Vietnam movies were about nothing but brutality of war. Saving Private Ryan a few years later had a good mix of the reality of harshness and the importance of honor and sacrifice. Yeah, that was
a good one.
I thought that was a good movie. Tread On reminded me of Gadsden Flag, Don't Tread on Me. Yes. All politics aside, it would be an interesting story of how slaves would have with Christianity, have dealt with Christianity.
Well, in order to make Christianity work with slaves, they kind of had to edit the Bible. They kind of had to choose chunks out and just make the slave Bible. As the Bible they could then pass around to the slaves and let them read, because the whole abolished slavery thing doesn't work so well.
Yeah.
They get to
well, there's a whole book of the Bible that's based on treating a slave well. Philemon.
Yep.
What are you going to do with the book of Philemon? No one takes into account that half of our nation never had slavery.
True.
I don't think that's true. Much more than half.
Well, yes. In that case, yes, you're right. Because if you count nowadays, slavery was abolished before many of the states even came into being at this point.
Well, what I'm also talking about is actual slave owners was a smaller
percentage. Oh, yeah.
So,
and the common slave owner in the South had maybe 3 to 4 slaves each, if memory serves.
Yeah. So that is a good point. There's quite a few that didn't. And Ohio.
Hey,
it was a part of.
Muhammad had over 40.
Oof. And we were a part of the Underground Railroad. Yes. John Newton, bad stuff working at a pharmacy. I repented.
Okay.
I repented. No redemption for aliens. Christ came to redeem us from original sin. We inherited original sin from our father Adam. Aliens are not in the human line. All the creation was remade and renewed. Okay, you are correct. However, there's more nuance to this, and I do agree with you, brother. This is for a longer discussion, and I did a video right here, and I think we're okay.
Is that going to be our topic for next week?
No.
I'm talking about
truth defenders. Oh, we can do a debate
with him next week.
I can do a debate with him.
Huh, maybe, I don't know.
I'll wear an alien mask.
Talk to him about doing the debate. We'll go for that.
Okay. But there's a whole question of redemption. Christ died once for all humanity, not for dogs, definitely not for cats, just for us. And we'll go from there. Ellen G. White said there were beautiful aliens on Jupiter who were without sin. Okay. Don't know how she knows that.
It's one of the many cult leaders that popped up.
Okay. And I'm shy. Dude, I know you're not. You do street preaching. You used to do some stuff that I would shy away from. So I know that is not true. It would be a nice stream with John and Lewis debate on alien redemption. Movie title. Yes. I'm up for it, brother. You want to do it? Let's do it. And it'd be scriptural based, right? So yeah, that'd be cool. So now, final thing, we kind of got a picture. Everybody's got a picture of how they would kind of remake this in different ways. And we got Patriots in space. Nominate your dream cast. Big star or unknown or ensemble. Who would you put in that? Nobody is a lead. It's riskier, but possible for an indie vibe, although less likely for a big budget pick. I'm not sure if a streaming service would pick that up. Do you want a diverse cast? Could you include Black, Native, or co-lead to reflect the era's diversity? And I just for grants, because I think it's such a beautiful picture, I must put up our lovely Vanna, not so white, and say that yes, we do want a diverse cast but the diversity is not just ethnicity or skin color. There's also so much diversity that was here in philosophy, how people are going to handle things. And that was really on a razor's edge with putting everything together. So let's look at our cast. We have Mel Gibson as Benjamin Martin. Put him up. And we have Heath Ledger as Gabriel Martin. We're going to replace him. We have Jolie Richardson as Charlotte Selton. Keep it down, guys. Then we have Jason Isaac as Colonel William Tavington. Let's replace Mel Gibson. Now, who are you going to replace? We're going to need a current star. Somebody today who's doing okay, or it could be an unknown. Who would you choose for a replacement for the main guy? Put your comment in below. We'll see. We'll go through and we'll take a look at each one. I have some pictures and I prepared, so I'm prepared for this. I've got something I'm going to put in.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, who would you? I will in a minute. Who would you put in as that?
I think Chris Pratt was a pretty good option. The other one would be the guy who played. Who was it that played The Witcher?
Henry Cavill.
Yeah, Henry Cavill.
But
that would be good.
He's English.
Well,
he could be the Dragoon.
There was a lot of. I wouldn't want him as a Dragoon. No, I like him too much.
Yeah, that's true.
He's too likable. Could you imagine Superman as a Dragoon?
As
really?
this guy?
Yeah, no.
No. As William Tavington? No, I agree.
And a lot of the colonists were English.
Well, yeah, that's true.
So it could work.
It could work. And I do like Henry Cavill. I think it's a shame that he got X from Superman. But we'll go with that. Okay, so my first pick. We're going to see what you guys have here. You know what? I'm just going to see what you guys have first before I put mine out there. See what you have. CGI Mel Gibson.
CGI Mel Gibson. No,
make him young. Okay, guys. No, you're not thinking wrong. Along the right lines here. That would be good. That'd be interesting to see. I'm not sure if you could do that. There'd be an uncanny valley.
There's a lot.
I don't think they can do that
now. There
is de-aging. It'd be nice to stream with John. Oh, sorry. Previous. Thomas Hall. I don't know of any big stars anymore. I think Tom Cruise might be the last of a dying breed of actors that bring you to the theater instead of the character franchise that they're in. That's a good point. Okay, so now take a look at who I have. I would suggest for Mel Gibson's character as Benjamin Martin, we could put in Chris Pratt, okay? Or we could go to the diverse side and Idris Elba.
No.
No?
Nah.
No? Well, he's a Hamdall in a Norse, because he's got to be Norse,
I know,
right?
He's already got the Norse thing going on.
Okay.
He's already been
all right. How about another
That's
Aussie?
not that bad.
He could?
Not that bad option.
I don't know. I'd still be thinking of Thor every time I see him do it. You don't
just
you
wait
think
for the
he'd pull
hammer.
off? Just wait for the hammer.
Just wait for the hammer.
That'd be cool. Instead of a
I think
tomahawk,
he could
uses
do
a
it,
hammer.
but he's
Okay.
also, I think, a little on the younger side.
Well, that's what you want, this diverse cast. Okay, so we got those in. Let's take a look at the second character, and this is his son, Heath Ledger, who plays Gabriel Martin. Who would you put in as a character for that?
I'm not sure.
Not sure?
I don't
Okay.
know all the Hollywood guys.
Well,
nowadays.
I don't know.
Maybe
We don't
gotta
know.
put-
How about this
that
guy? Tom Holland.
Actually, that would be the only one. That I think is
Actually, you
younger
think that
than-
might work, huh?
Maybe.
Another English guy.
What? You know what? This is the English colonies.
Yes, it is. Or we could, we want to say diverse. Let's have somebody maybe a little more challenged take the part. You think Napoleon
Really?
Dynamite could?
No. Unless you want to turn this into comedy.
I think we could do it as a comedy. I think it's more appropriate.
I think
All right, so let's get a
completely different
replacement for. So those two, you'd say Tom Holland. All right, let's see if we got anything on the comments here. It said Pitt just made one of the best movies. F1 was really good.
I have not seen that one yet.
Yeah,
Might need to see that one.
might have to.
I didn't know he was in it.
Is there a wheelchair-bound option for character diversity? Yes, there is. Be horse-drawn, but we can still do that. That would work in the ambush scene with all the knife fighting.
Just on the horseback the entire time.
Why not?
Why not?
You got the Black Widow. She's just as strong as all these other guys that are there. You can do that. You can pull that off. If you're going to do diverse characters that are on the same level as all these big guys, you can try that. All right. So is Heath Ledger? We're going to have replacements for him. And we said it would likely be Tom Holland. The next one on the list is Julie Richardson as Charlotte Stelton. Now she played the Benjamin Martin's wife's sister. So Benjamin Martin's wife died.
Yes.
And this is her sister. And
She's
she's
single.
got the hots for him.
Who is currently single and all alone.
All right, stop, guys. Please. Okay. Get your minds on things above. All right, so who would be a replacement for her? Well, we do have a modern day version, and we could do Rosamund Pike. If you know who she is, I don't, but she came up as a possibility. It works.
Sure.
Or if you want somebody more recognizable and diverse, we could really go the whole 9 yards here and have Ruby Rod. Do you think that'll work?
I admit that would be more entertaining.
It would be
but
more
it's made me
entertaining.
question you.
Okay. All right. So the last one we have.
Considering we just had a gender swap.
Well,
And there's some really questionable scenes then. Just saying.
don't want
It
to go
gets
there.
really questionable.
Yeah.
then.
Well, we're
You're the
not
one
going
brought
the
it
diverse
up.
route. We want to be historically accurate, right? Maybe. Is that what we want to go for? So then for the evil bad guy played by Jason Isaacs, this is Colonel William Tavington, the man we all love to hate. I think so. There is a time and there is a place.
I probably go with who is the guy? He played in The Shift. He was a villain in The Shift.
Oh, gosh, yeah, he's one of my favorite actors too, and I'm drawing a blank. He's in a lot of Angel Studios films.
A lot of Angel Studios films right now. He was in Homestead. He was in The Shift.
Yep.
He was in, I think, what was it? The Flash, the TV series The Flash, as one of the villains there.
Now, he always plays the bad guy. I should have his name right off the bat on this. He always plays the bad guy. Why does he always play the bad guy?
Because then he doesn't have to kiss anyone.
He doesn't have to kiss a woman, and he wants to be faithful to his wife. What a dude.
That is a really good villain. He really plays a really good villain.
The one that he did we got a short here. If you guys haven't seen it, you got a short where he does the devil.
Yep.
And the main character is praying, and he just goes nuts. Oh, it's really well done. Fantastic. Probably the best part of the movie.
That's who I
So
would replace.
you
him
would
with.
replace it with him. Okay.
Yep, absolutely.
So we'll see what you guys have for it here in a minute. But another alternative could be
Loki won't be bad.
Loki. Yes. Tom Hiddleston. And I think, could you see that? I could see that.
If you replace, what would be really funny is if you replace Mel Gibson with guy who played Thor. Then
Oh
and then you got both
no!
of those.
See, yeah,
You'll never get that out of your head.
no.
You would never, ever, ever get that out of your head.
No, that wouldn't work.
That'd be the end of
They
it.
could not. Yeah, these guys could not play opposite each other.
Well, they
Yeah.
do play opposite each other.
Well, I know, but not in the remake.
I think it would be great.
No. But for if we want to have a diverse character for Colonel William Tavington, I would suggest someone who is perhaps a little mentally challenged to play the part, but we all love him because he's a lovable character.
I think the problem is he's a lovable character.
Another Brit.
That's the issue. People like him too much.
Yeah. So to wrap up, smash that like button and subscribe and tell us in the comments, are there other movies you want to see remade? A movie never to be remade. I've got a couple on that list. I don't want them to touch it. I think they've done it well enough the way it is, and one of those is The Mask. Leave it alone. You guys don't need to redo
They
that.
killed the series.
I don't think you
killed it with all
I know.
the sequels.
Yeah.
It absolutely got butchered.
Yeah. And do you want to see fresh material? Forget about remakes and reboots and everything like that. If there's anything that they should be doing, they should do fresh materials. Yes, guys, take my book. Next week, we'll have a fresh from the theater review of Superman Legacy.
So we're doing Superman.
Superman. James Gunn's reboot of a reboot of a reboot of a reboot.
3 out of 10.
So this is a fresh, new reboot of a reboot.
They better do really good because it's already starting real low on my list.
It is. We're going to take a look. And we're going to do this a little bit differently. We're going to look for a Superman. There really is a message here to be seen for this. And I'm hoping you guys have a chance to see it because I think this is something that does translate to conversations with other people and not just, oh, I saw a movie. There's more to it than that. Eric, do you have anything coming up that you want to talk with us about?
Absolutely. Tomorrow I will be live at 6 p.m. EST with a new video game that came out. We're doing a Let's Play on my channel. It should be interesting. Mubahala.
What?
Mubahala.
Mubahala? What is that?
It is the challenge between Muslims and Christians calling down the judgment of Allah. And it's going to be interesting. Elle just did a live stream on it on her channel. I'm going to be breaking it down as well. It involves a lot of the Christian apologists that you guys are familiar with. And yes, it is Chris from Speaker's Corner who has created the game.
It's an actual game?
It's an actual game.
And it's done as like a
win.
Form of evangelism or?
No, it's satire. It's complete satire. It is 100% satire.
All right. This. I've got my interest up on this. This sounds good.
It's interesting.
I'll have that. Something I can look forward to see what's coming. All right, guys. Thank you. I think we've just made a new blockbuster. This is going to be a complete and utter hit for a new audience, brand new audience. They'll look forward to our version of the Patriot. Until then, we're going to see Superman next.
Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.